Welcome back to Living with Lex. Today, I want to talk about a more serious topic because there is an increase in children being diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and everything that falls within, the spectrum of ADHD and or autism. Um, this is coming from personal experiences, but as you know, I just want to give an advisory. I do live in Macon, Georgia. I made a video about that on some prior videos. So just go through my channel, you'll find those videos. What I didn't mention was how is Macon, Georgia when it comes to education, and how is Macon, Georgia when it comes to children who are special needs. And I'm just going to discuss a little bit about my experiences since I've been out here as a parent of a child that is special needs, so that it'll be somewhat relatable, because who better to tell you what their experience is than someone who actually has a child who has special needs. So let's get into it. As well as if you are coming down here because of the cost of living and you think it's cheaper, I want to also entail welfare into that as well, because I've had family members try to get on welfare out here when they were, staying with me, and I can tell you about that as well. So let me just tell you a little bit about my child's, journey with autism. So, my child was diagnosed with autism around the age of like 4. And we kind of had an inkling that he had autism since he was about maybe 2 or 3. But we got evaluated through Gwinnett County School District. They said that was only good for IEP. And we had to also get a diagnosis. They don't give you a diagnosis. They just give you a plan based on what they think it may be. And so we would have to get a medical diagnosis. So we went to Georgia Autism Center to go get a diagnosis. They did diagnose him with autism. But they also said that he's highly intelligent, and they want to bring him back again so they can test his intelligence. And I know I'm not alone when I say there's a lot of parents out here who struggle with this, especially if your child has Asperger's or, they are highly intelligent, but they're also autistic. So the social component is just not there 100%, but the intelligence as far as academics, they are like high. And there's a reason for that. But we're not going to go there. So once we started on our journey, I don't want to get into details about him starting pre-K or preschool, only because I'm still thinking in my mind whether or not I should sue. But the first daycare that he went to, because Georgia has this thing called the pre-K program. It's like a lottery type of thing where you have to enroll your child into the pre-K program through schools. So once you're approved for the pre-K program, you can look for schools that accept the pre-K program. And then, most of the time it's a daycare. Some schools actually have pre-K in them. The school that my children currently go to have pre-K in them. So some schools do offer pre-K. But the pre-K program is basically for, children who are in pre-kindergarten and want to go to school. And you would fill out an application. They'll tell you if it's approved. And then, you look for a school that accepts pre-K. Kinder care, not sure if they still do it, but at the time when we were looking for schools, they did accept, pre-K program children. This is when we first started to think like, yeah, we definitely probably should get an evaluation. And this was before we got an evaluation. All this is happening before. He was having issues there. I had to keep coming. So while I was at work, I had to keep calling out to come pick him up. My job refused to put me on nights. They stalled me out. They did everything but just transition my job to nights so that I can be available for my child if I have to pick him up, if I have to take him here, if I have to take him there for therapy. I just couldn't work during the day. I've had this issue with work when it comes to kids since the day my children were born. Unfortunately, corporate America does not care about children. So I pulled him out because they wanted to put him on a modified plan. But because I was still working, I couldn't adhere to the modified plan because during the time that they wanted me to pick him up, I was still clocked in for work. And even though I worked from home, I was still clocked in for work. I still had to take calls. So I ended up just bringing him home altogether. At some point, I just didn't care anymore about, my children being in the background or my child being in the background of my calls, to the point where they just said, go ahead and put her on nights. So they put me on nights at some point. Then I was homeschooling full time, taking them to the playground, taking them to the library for group libraries time. We had a whole schedule set up. We would go, on field trips every now and then throughout the year. I had a whole curriculum set up for him when he was homeschooling. And then I had to put him in school again because I needed more money. And I got my mortgage loan origination license. So I wanted to get another job because financially we were struggling. So I found this place. I was calling around for weeks. And then I finally found this place. Kids are kids. And I straight up asked them, I have 4 questions. And one of the questions were, do you educate or do you take children who have autism? They said yes. I should have did a little more research. Being as though there was no mention of autism on the website, that's kind of my fault. They were aware that he had autism when I signed him up for school. I made it very clear that he has autism. As a matter of fact, before he was even enrolled, we had a long discussion about it. So much so that there were other children there that also had autism. So my child wasn't the only autistic child in the pre-K program. So that goes to show you that they were accepting children knowingly with autism, knowing that they did not have the trained staff to do so. Once my child started, I started getting these calls in the middle of the day. He's not listening. He's running from me. He's, doing things that children do, but, on a different level because he's autistic. So I went and got him. I clocked out of work every single time, just went and got him. So much so that I ended up getting fired from that job eventually. It was so much going on in my life at that time, but I ended up getting fired. But not fired, but they didn't fire me. They excused me for personal reasons. And they told me I can come back whenever, I got myself together. But I did have a later conversation with them, advising that I probably won't be returning because now he's home. So they removed him from school. They kicked him out of school for disability, which is illegal. You're not supposed to kick children out of school for disabilities. It's also a part of the pre-K program that you're not supposed to remove children for the reasons of disabilities. But they did. And so that's just that. I'm not going to get into the details. I have all the text messages and everything, all the recordings, everything. So they removed him from school because of his autism. Now, before I had came to Macon, I did a lot of research on, autism therapy in Macon because he was currently in therapy in Lawrenceville. Now, I had spoke with family members who are from Macon, and a few of them were honest and said, I came up further north because there's more resources further north than it is in Macon. But that was like years ago. So I'm like, well, maybe they've developed because I was doing some Google searches and I seen like a few therapy offices out here, like a few. It looks like their medical systems are going up as far as like, investing more money into them, updating them, making them look nicer, having more services to offer and things like that. They also have a autism private school. So that excited me and I moved close to that school. this is all going to come full circle. Once we moved here, I went through the regular theme of going in to get a doctor's appointment. Going in to get a doctor's appointment, asking for a referral for speech therapy and occupational therapy and any other therapy that he may need. And they gave me a reference based on, anything that I saw that I liked, any particular provider that I saw that I liked. So I advised them, hey, let's try this provider. Can you send a referral over this this provider? Contact the provider. One of the I don't want to say nurses, maybe person at the desk or assistant answered, I'm covering. I don't know what to do with this. I'll have her call you back when she gets in. I'm substituting for someone. Fine. Never got a call back. Called again. Oh, we're backed up for about 6 months to a year. Great. I still have to do some more calling around. We are in the midst of trying to get everything set up for him down here. So it's right in the middle. I can't say it's set in stone whether or not I've had a good experience here with my child with his disability or not. But, I'm in the middle of it. So it's been a long drawn out battle because I started him in the school that, his brother goes to. And I just, they couldn't, and I understand, but I also did not want to put him, I didn't feel comfortable with putting him in special education because as parents, we know our child. My child is very intelligent. He was actually pulled for honors, for gifted. So they had him testing for gifted while they were trying to put him in special needs. So it was a lot. It was a lot. But he ended up testing pretty good for gifted, but because of his behavior, they wanted to put him in special needs. And I would rather, work on his gift home than to just put him in special needs until we can afford to put him into the private school. So, just some things that I wanted to discuss as far as autism and Macon. And that's just that's all that I said was based on our journey to where we are now. So where we are now is he's currently being homeschooled. There's not a lot of homeschooling resources out here. I tried to talk to some therapists, to see some educational therapists for the city to see what type of resources they had. There was a program that they had I'm not too familiar with. I did look into it a little bit. I didn't see anything substantial like group sessions or activities or anything that would bring homeschooling parents together. So that's interesting. I do take my child to the playground every day. I see other parents at the playground. As far as the social component, maybe I need to be a little more open. It seems a little cliquish a little bit. So there's that. I did meet someone. She's pretty cool, but she decided to leave because of the communication barrier, I guess. She's very outgoing, and don't feel like she can be outgoing here. I haven't had that personal experience only because I'm somewhat of an introvert. So yeah, I can't relate, but I would prefer for people not to talk to me. So if you don't like that, then this is probably not the place for you, I guess. Maybe everybody has their own experiences. Um, yeah. So as far as private schools, the private schools out here are awesome. The only thing about the private schools is they are expensive for the area. I'm assuming if you are paying less for housing, you got that give and take thing where it's like, oh, well, you're paying less for food and housing and gas. You could pay more for school. Don't 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 kill me. Stratford Academy is a pretty good school. One of the best. If you look on the list of best schools in Georgia, this school will come up as one of the best schools in the state. Not better than Gwinnett's Math and Science High School, but this is from K through 12. So the Gwinnett School of Mathematics and Technology, that's just high school. That is a very great school, top ranked. Buford High, top ranked. But this one is top ranked as well for elementary. It's the Academy of Classical Education. I'm going to do a tour and I think in December, so coming up soon. Hopefully I can get video, but a lot of these places don't allow cameras and videos and things like that. So cross my fingers that I can bring you guys along with me on a tour to see the school, but we're going to go see it because I do want to enroll one of my children into that school, and it's very close to where I live. So not to give away too much information, but I'm pretty sure my subscribers are not creepy or weird. But yeah, so I like that school. And I would love for him to attend. Another thing, they do a lottery thing, and last year he was on the waiting list for like number 88 for first grade, and I was like, wow. So who knew? The waiting list is crazy. So that's something to keep in mind. The houses that are directly in the area are expensive. Don't know why. Or they're not on the market at all. So there's that. But yeah, that's a pretty good school. Stratford Academy is one of like the top private schools around here. They do have a private school for children with autism. So those are just, some of the schools. Oh, and Alexander is one of the top schools in the area. It's Alexander for mathematics and technology or science. They're rated number 1 or number 2 in the city. I'm not sure about where they rank in the state. Probably like the 100s or top 100 or top 200s. So yeah, those are the schools around here which I would feel comfortable if he were in special education in those schools. I don't feel quite comfortable with him being in special education in the school that he was currently going to. So that's why I just chose to homeschool, because I felt like that was the best option. I am allowed to accommodate him and give him that one-on-one. I am allowed to hire people and therapists, and we can have his schedule be open for the best therapist that he can see. And it allows me to, push him further with his intelligence and what he's interested in, which is, I don't want to say it, but it's a very good thing that he's interested in this thing. And it's probably normal for him. If you know my profession and you know my husband's profession, it doesn't come out of left field. Okay. So, as far as we've already talked about the places for therapy, I have to finish calling around to get a good idea about waiting times out here for that. And if you are an ABA specialist or you have an ABA business, you'll probably thrive down here, just being honest. And if you are a nonprofit homeschooling, organization, you might thrive down here as well. Schooling is expensive out here, and where the schools are located, the housing is either non-available or very high in price. So you might be able to thrive out here as well. And it seems a little, I'm going to be honest, I feel very comfortable homeschooling out here. It doesn't feel as, well, the state, it doesn't feel as, I don't know, weird. I don't feel cooped up. There's a lot to do. Everything from what goes on at the playground, trailways, rivers, things like that. I love it all. Another thing, when it comes to, I just want to talk about this really quick. When it comes to Georgia and the welfare, because some people may need welfare if for their children, because their children provide, if your child is disabled and needs medical attention regularly, then you may need a different type of insurance that you may not be able to afford. So you might go through welfare or public assistance to get welfare so that you can, be able to assist your child in the best way possible. Welfare out here and public assistance, terrible. Just being honest, it's terrible. I don't know if it's because of the pandemic. So comment below if you've lived here all your life and you never had an issue with Bibb County's welfare or public assistance. My personal opinion and my personal experience, I didn't really like it that much. I would fill out an application. They would say, "Oh, you have an appointment." I would wait by the phone for them to call me for my on-call appointment. Then they would send me a letter and say I missed up my appointment, even though I didn't miss my appointment. I would go up to the office and they would say, "Well, everybody's working from home. You can't come in here." So it was just a nightmare. And then when I did call the number back, it would either go to voicemail, and then the voicemail would have no space to leave a message, or the phone would just ring, ring, ring. Just terrible. And I work for the government, so that's bad. If I work for the government and I say it's bad because I have empathy, it's bad. Especially when you're dealing with people who are in need of food and healthcare, who don't really have the means. You're dealing with murky water. As far as autism with my job in Georgia, or disabilities with my job in Georgia, I was able to get FMLA pretty fast. The practitioners and the providers were able to get my paperwork filled out pretty fast so I can hand it into work. I did FMLA through opm.gov, and I did reasonable accommodation because I just tried, even though I know my job is just like discriminatory. They have given me hell since I've had children. And I've been here for 8 years. So, if you do work for the government, or if you do work for a company that offers employee assistance, you can ask them, what type of steps you can take to be able to be, have the flexibility, and having a work schedule flexibility and things like that, and having flexible leave and things like that, for these reasons, and not getting fired because you're taking care of someone who is disabled, whether it be, your grandparents, your sister, your brother, your mother, your child. You could look into those resources with the employee resources that they have. You can always ask HR for an employee resource hotline if you work for a big company. If you work for a smaller company, you can ask your boss. And they shouldn't discriminate against you for those reasons. They shouldn't. Not saying that they won't. And if you have a union, you can also contact them as well. Some of the places who offer evaluation down here that are good, if you want to get a medical evaluation for autism. So there's already Autism Health. That's in Bibb County. That's the best one in Bibb County if you're watching this and you're thinking about moving to Bibb County. If you're in Atlanta, they have the Georgia Autism Center, CHO, or Children's Hospital of Atlanta. Marcus Autism Center. I didn't really like the reviews. They also have this school called the School of Disability, the School of Lawrenceville of this disability, something like that. I didn't like the ratings, and I saw some of the reviews where there were some discrepancies that I did not agree with. Even if it's false, I just don't like that it's even said to start with. You should have a sense of confidence when you're dropping your child off to school that they are somewhat safe, because nobody's 100% safe. But that for the most part, your child is okay. And if anything is to happen, you'll be alerted immediately and things will be taken care of in a way that makes you feel comfortable if anything happens. I don't get that vibe from that school. I'll get the full name of it in a minute. But yeah, and then some resources, like I've said, I've seen, sorry, I have this gnat and it's just like so annoying. There might be some food that was left out or something. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, so the school, let me see if I can look up the school really quick. Because there's some really good best autism schools in Georgia. And I say always move with education in mind first. That is always going to be my message, because everybody's circumstances is different. And if you have children, their education is your priority. And when you come to Georgia, because Georgia is so, I'm not going to say low on the totem pole as far as education, because they're not low, but it's like versus, Massachusetts and Jersey, they're not the best. So you just want to make sure that you're finding the best of the best if you're going to be in a state like Georgia. And I'm going to be honest with you, most of those good schools are in Marietta and Atlanta. So you're going to have the pockets to back it up. But every now and then when you look at the list, you're going to see schools that are like in random places. For example, Evans, Georgia has really good schools. And they're also, their living is actually affordable. So that's Augusta. And they have really good schools. I'm not kidding. We actually were looking at houses out there, and I'm talking about elementary, middle, and high school. We were actually looking at properties out there during the time we were looking at Macon as well. So definitely think about Augusta. Augusta is beautiful. Savannah, I haven't seen anything about Savannah yet as far as like being at the top for schools. But I can't completely take that off the list. I keep seeing Cumberland Academy of Georgia as one of the top schools. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's in Atlanta. I think it's in Atlanta. But yeah, there's a lot of schools for autism out here. Some of them are private. Some of them are more of like charter, where you have to go on a list. The private school around here for autism has 5 stars. So that is something that makes me feel comfortable. Some of the medical facilities that will evaluate your child also offer educational resources for children as well. And you also may qualify for low income financial assistance with some of these private schools if you are on a low income scale. Like if you make, if you're below the poverty line or something like that, look up the government poverty line to see if you fall below a certain poverty line as far as percentage. Could it be 400%, 100%? If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google federal poverty line and they'll tell you what's considered poverty based on, your income. But yeah, there's a few autism schools. Like I said, most of them are in Atlanta and Marietta. So the best place to be for a child with autism would be Marietta, Georgia, based on my research, and Atlanta. You could see if you qualify for, assistance. You could see if you can find some affordable living in those areas. But I'm just being honest. You'll probably end up in the ghetto. Is really screwed up. So anyway, trying to keep a light heart, instead of being heavy and down about it, but things are just great. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share. Just my experience with autism down here in Georgia overall. And even when I was in Lawrenceville, I didn't feel like I could find a place where I would feel safe to put my child to go to school in with his autism. Because a lot of schools, private schools, and a lot of good schools offer special needs or special education. So just because it's a private school that doesn't mention special education doesn't mean they don't offer special education. And in most cases, their special education is way better than public school special education. And in most cases, they do offer financial assistance for people who are making low income. And you probably have to file an application through the school, and you probably have to do it every year. Another thing is for working parents. If or for anybody, like if you're an aunt taking care of your children, you're a legal guardian or something like that. They do have a lot of these schools. I know the school that my child is currently in offers before and after. I think it's just aftercare. Yeah, they offer after school care for a certain amount, and if you qualify, it could be free. And they also give your child free snacks for aftercare, and I think it lasts until like 5-6 p.m. So those are things to keep in mind when you're moving to these areas. Like, what do I need, and how it can make my life better. I know it seems affordable to come down here, and you look at those housing prices and you be like, I'm ready to come down here now. Like when the average 2,000 square foot house in Atlanta is like 500,000, it's like 200,000 down here. So I know it's like, oh my God, those prices. But think thoroughly before you make the move about what it is that you need, and what it is that this place has to offer for you. That's why I wanted to make the autism video, because just giving you like in real time my experiences with disabilities in Georgia in general, but specifically Macon, Georgia. So that's all I had to say for now. I'm just going to keep it short and simple, even though it's not short. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting. I will try as hard as possible to be more consistent. We're going through a transition right now. We're actually trying to invest in Macon. So I will have a separate video about investing in Macon here for you.